We bring the boom. That's what we do. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to you. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to everyone. We bring the boom. Your favorite father and son.
Every afternoon on your FYP.
We'll be bringing the boom around 3:15.
We bring the boom so loud the whole earth shakes.
With double chunk chocolate cookies.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of an AEW pay-per-view recap with your boy Brandon Tanguma. I am back. Hopefully, this sounds okay. Of course, my laptop updated, and then the app I use, it's not Zoom. So when I'm all by myself, I try to be fancy and do it with Logic Pro. And because my MacBook updated, everything kind of resets, and I forget how everything sounded beforehand or how I made it work beforehand, and now I don't know what it sounds like, but hopefully it sounds okay. But we do have an AEW pay-per-view to recap. This was the 2024 edition of Full Gear, taking place at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. WrestleTix had the last update of tickets sold at 10,094. So, once again, a really good house for AEW compared to what they do for television tapings. But for pay-per-views, it's shown that AEW can draw decent-sized houses for these pay-per-views because it has been known, it has been established that you will get really good wrestling. It's where the most consequential matches take place. They usually run these in big cities, in big markets, like the Newark, New Jersey, New York area, and it's it did look good. It was definitely a breath of fresh air compared to watching the Dynamite and Collision tapings, where clearly it's 25-30% full or whatever. They have everyone jam-packed opposite the hard cam, and the rest of the arena is like pitch black dark, but they lit it up well. The complete lower bowl was sold out, looked good. Parts of the upper deck, there were seats, people in those seats, but for the most part, they were focusing on the full lower bowl that they had. There was a pre-show. Only one match mattered, let's be honest, and it was the match between Big Boom AJ taking on QT Marshall with the Rizzler as the guest timekeeper. And as I said in my preview of this, I just absolutely love the Costco Guys. I was going to say the very, minority of people who like wrestling, really like wrestling, and also are into the Costco Guys. But they did get a really good reaction. Big Show Paul White came out as the guest commentator. And then he also walked out with the Rizzler. Rizzler got a big pop. And AJ and Big Justice came out, and they got, good reactions. And, if you don't know, AJ was a wrestler back in the day, about 20 years ago, and he laced the boots up one more time, maybe one final time. And, the match itself was perfectly fine. You could tell QT was leading the way. AJ may have been a little tired, but didn't blow anything massive. They kept it very simple. A lot of clotheslines, a lot of, suplexes, some big spots, off the top turnbuckle. And the big finish was Aaron Solo gets involved. AJ, gets him out of there. Referee distracted. Big Justice comes in, hits a spear on QT, and then AJ hits the power boom. Instead of a power bomb, it's a power boom, because that's what he says. He says boom after everything he does, and he gets the win. It was a really fun match. I quite enjoyed it. The crowd got a real kick out of it, and it's desperately what needed to happen. Is the crowd needed to be invested in the match for this to work out in any which way, and it definitely did. So I was kayfabe. I was at work, and I luckily was on lunch when this happened, so I was able to watch it. But didn't really go on Twitter too much, during it. But I did go afterwards, and like every single post that I saw from wrestling accounts, non-wrestling accounts, was this match, and that is what AEW was banking on, was the social media hits. Hundreds of thousands, if not definitely millions, of views around the internet. But now, if I can step back and not be a mark and be, rah rah, and I could be cynical Brandon for a second. Like, what does this do for AEW? It's a fun time. It's good. I got a kick out of it. I loved it. But to be honest, there's probably a lot of people who watch AEW that have no idea who the Costco guys are. They don't care. They just see it from the outside and just this, guy in his 40s and his pre-teenage son walking out looking like, kind of some schmucks, and people are eating enough for whatever reason. You could call it old man yells at cloud, but, in this day and age, we kind of do live in internet bubbles, and especially with AEW, they seem to live in a bubble a lot to where they think, their shit don't stink and whatever they do is like the greatest thing, or they are immune to criticism. But, as much as I love the AJ Big Justice stuff and the Rizzler, you could definitely see this further turning away some people who were into AEW because it was the alternative to a stale WWE product. And this was kind of the stuff WWE would do. Now, they wouldn't get like full-blown internet celebrities, but, they tout out those Raw GMs every week, and they get cheap plugs for whatever those celebrities were doing. And you knew they didn't give a shit about wrestling or Raw. They were just there to plug whatever movie or television show they have coming up. But we'll have to see. Maybe the Costco guys come back. Maybe this was a one-off. I think this was a one-off, but we shall see. Then kicking off the show proper, we have the 4-way tag match with Private Party defending against Malachi Black, Brody King, the Outrunners, and the Acclaim. For this being Private Party's first title defense, the match was really not about them. It was mainly about the Acclaim and the pretty obvious breakup that they're doing. Caster came out, did his rap, does what he does, and then he fired the microphone at Anthony Bowens, and that was kind of the beginning of the end. And then Max Caster, just yelling at the crowd, being very aggressive. Bowens not exactly liking it, and then they did at the end sequence, they get both of them end because it's the stupid, tag match where only two people are wrestling at a time, but yet by happenstance, both Max Caster and Anthony Bowens were the quote-unquote legal guys in the ring. And you could tell that's what they were doing, but the announcers completely blew it, where they're like, what are they doing? They're just staring at each other. What's going to happen? Are they going to fight with... And they didn't acknowledge the obvious that they were both the legal men, because Rick Knox was... The referee was like, you guys are both legal. What is going on? And yeah. And then they did the whole count, and right before the referee counts to 3, there's the announcer's like, there's no way he's going to count to 3 and make this legal. And then, then he goes and counts to 3. But whoever it was, I think it was Bowens, or no, Caster kicked out, and then we get the finish. Caster and Bowens kind of argue and bicker a little bit. That ends up costing them. Private Party comes in, hits the gin and juice for the win. Yeah, as I said, some decent action in there. Everyone kind of got their shine. But if you kind of go off of the 4 teams in the match, the champions, Private Party, got the least amount of shine. And you can say, oh, yeah, they got the win, so it doesn't really matter. But, they just were kind of in the background and then kind of came out of nowhere for the finish to get the win. And the crowd was, kind of into it. They enjoyed booing Max Caster. He got some good heat, but I think outside of that, didn't really do much, to be honest. We did get a rare backstage interview during an AEW pay-per-view with Lexi Nair interviewing Orange Cassidy. Just kind of simple rah-rah stuff, talking about AEW and how there'd be no Orange Cassidy with no AEW, no Private Party without AEW, and, just very hitting home that Orange Cassidy is a ride-or-die AEW original. Then we get Roderick Strong taking on MJF. This one goes about 12 minutes, and MJF gets the win with a kind of out of nowhere salt of the earth for the tap out win. Roderick Strong working over MJF's back. As you know, Roderick Strong is the master of the backbreaker, and MJF worked over Strong's arm, and that played into the finish. 12 minutes, crowd kind of was into it, but not really. It's kind of a trend in this show as we go along of, many of these matches do not have a full-blown storyline that a lot of people cared a lot about. Once again, wrestling was good. Story didn't have too much behind it, and then that kind of affected the crowd. And then once again, you pair this up against the Costco guys in the pre-show. Not a good look for the AEW main card, for the Costco guys and the Rizzler getting bigger reactions in an MJF match, to be honest. And who would have seen that coming? I mean, in 2023, no one knew what the Rizzler was, but now they do. MJF did come out in his robe, and on the back, I forget exactly what the term said, but there was a B, and the B had the Boston Bruins, which was a not so subtle nod of his alleged role in Happy Gilmore 2. So I thought that was a little cheeky thing. He came out and he did his pose, and then a giant flag or sign that was "Thank me later" came out, and the announcers didn't really acknowledge it. I don't know what that was about. I guess that's MJF's thing. Whatever. So yeah, MJF gets the win. Then he puts a chair on Roderick Strong's arm, and he goes to Pillmanize Strong, and he actually does do it. He Pillmanizes his arm, and then the conglomeration, too many factions. One member of the conglomeration came out. That was Kyle O'Reilly. He comes out along with Adam Cole, the Undisputed Kingdom. That's the real name. So yeah, Undisputed Kingdom comes out. Adam Cole chases off MJF. And when I mean chase off, I mean MJF runs away, and then Adam Cole goes on the corner turnbuckle and just yells at MJF. So no physicality between those two. And then Kyle O'Reilly kind of shoves Adam Cole and kind of yells at him and says you're the reason for this, whatever the case may be. So MJF just wins, no shenanigans, no real interaction between Cole and MJF, so I guess presumably we're going to get more of this. The inclusion of Kyle O'Reilly as a kind of centerpiece, especially with the promo from Dynamite, and then now after the match, interesting to see what happens. If Kyle O'Reilly turns heel and goes against Adam Cole, I don't think that really does too much. Maybe if this is a way for O'Reilly to bring something out of Cole as a babyface, maybe that could work, because desperately Cole is so stale right now, despite coming back from a very long layoff. You would think he'd be in a good spot reaction wise, but he is not. And I just don't think continuing this stuff with MJF is going to do him any wonders. Then we get the lone women's match on the pay-per-view show. We did get, was it Anna Jay and Taya Valkyrie in the pre-show. But we get Mercedes Moné defending her TBS title against Chris Statlander. This one goes 20 minutes, and at first this was a very up and down match. Not a lot of crowd reaction, but then, around the 12-15 minute mark, they, hit some good near falls. They hit some good high spots. A really clean looking, Chris Statlander goes for a power bomb, but some sort of leverage lift up thing, and Mercedes kind of rolls through it and turns it into a backbreaker and one fluid solid motion, and it almost looked like it was a botch, and Statlander kind of rotated her too far back and they kind of fell over, but they played the replay and it looked very clean. It looked very controlled, and that was honestly one of the more impressive spots of the night, to be honest, was that one. And Mercedes hits the Meteor. That was kind of a theme throughout the match. She hit many Meteors. She hits, she does the Three Amigos, goes for the Frog Splash, but Statlander catches her, hits her with a whatever her move is, and we get some really good kickouts, and then Mercedes, let's see, what is the finish? Let's see, Mercedes slapped Statlander and trash talker. Statlander countered into a backslide, but Mercedes rolled her up. Mercedes lifted Statlander, but Statlander countered and set up a tombstone. Mercedes bit her leg and then set Statlander throw first in the middle rope. Mercedes was into the middle rope and scored the 3 count. So, no Camille whatsoever. So she didn't get involved. So Mercedes, not cheating per se, but wins relatively clean. And this was a theme for a majority of the show. I thought this was a really good match, and they definitely did pick up steam because the crowd was dead quiet for the first 10 to 12 minutes of this. And then kind of once they kind of did the spamming of moves and the kickouts at 2.5, 2 3/4, then that's when the crowd kind of got into it. So I thought it was a good performance by both these women. Once again, the whole thing of Statlander turning babyface randomly was kind of strange and underwhelming, and Mercedes continues to be a champion with character issues, but when it comes to her in-ring performances, for the most part, she delivers. And I guess that's like a good thing for AEW because that's kind of what their namesake is just having good matches. But as we go down this card, there's a lot of like good matches, but I would say the ones that stand out the most are going to be the ones that have some, if not a lot, of storyline build behind them. And coming up, we have another match where, there kind of is a storyline, but nothing that was super hot. Was Hangman Page and Jay White. Coming into this, Jay White put over the fact that he's beaten Hangman Page so many times. They fight, brawl, some good, some good stuff. They work. They go to the outside, and Hangman was working over Jay White's leg. He, pinned him in between the guardrails, smashed his leg, puts him in an ankle lock. Teases the 10 count. And they just kind of go back and forth. Then Jay White hits a Blade Runner out of nowhere to get the win in 21 minutes. It was a slow building match. So kind of your typical kind of Jay White, New Japan type match where it just kind of, starts off a little slow, kind of lulls you in, and then kind of gradually ramps itself up progressively. Didn't hit like a major crescendo like I think both these guys could do, but fourth match on the show, very much in the mid card on this card. They were not needed to or probably instructed to do anything too crazy because I would assume we're going to have some other interactions and other matches between these guys in the future. The crowd wasn't like too into it, to be honest. Like I said, match was like fine, but storyline wise, it's kind of meh. People like Jay White. People like Hangman. Neither one of them are kind of setting the world on fire right now. So you kind of put those two together, and it's a recipe for an apathetic crowd. So I mean, once again, crowd likes both guys, but they don't love either guy. So it was kind of hard to really have them go either way. But then we get probably best match of the show. Definitely in the contender between I think this one and the main event. Kyle Fletcher takes on Will Ospreay. Ospreay makes his entrance first. He comes out all black. They kept saying it was an nod to the Punisher. Maybe it was some nod to some Assassin's Creed game that I don't know about or play or whatever. So Ospreay decked out in all black. Kyle Fletcher in all white. So the opposites on both sides there, which I thought was a good look. Don Callis came out with Fletcher, and Callis was on commentary for the most part. And this was just a straight-up wrestling match. They go 24 minutes, really hard-hitting stuff, exhilarating spots, back and forth, what you would expect. Fletcher working over Ospreay's neck and back, and Ospreay, selling the numbness in his hands and stuff like that, which I'm not the biggest fan of. They didn't play it up too much like Danielson would, where he's, almost going to get stretchered off and they're playing this up as a shoot. It was definitely more in the selling type of, actions that Ospreay was doing, which I'm not a fan of the neck sell, but as long as it doesn't go too over the top, I'm not going to have too much of an issue with it. We did get some steel steps involved, and one of the big spots was Kyle Fletcher jumps off the ring apron onto those steel steps and hits a pile driver on Will Ospreay. And this kind of started the trend of a lot of matches with pile drivers in them, which I don't know if the producers are talking to each other, if the wrestlers like get inspired because they're watching the show and like, you know what, I'm going to do a pile driver. But this started off a string of matches that had pile drivers as high spots of various degrees. This one was a major gas spot, while some other ones were kind of, a pile driver for a kick out at 2. Another one was kind of a transition move. Another one was like their finisher-esque. But maybe it just stood out to me because we have the thing over in WWE where Kevin Owens has just one basic pile driver on Randy Orton that didn't exactly look particularly devastating. And they're selling it like, Randy Orton's dead. And we have just many pile driver variants on this show that, like this one, the Ospreay match was sold, very much so. But we move ahead to the next match, Jack Perry and Daniel Garcia. Garcia hit Perry with a pile driver, and it wasn't even like a move for a near fall. I think it was just like a transition move, to be honest. All right, getting to the finish, Ospreay delivered a Grimstone pile driver for a near fall. Fletcher hit a pile driver for the near fall. Fletcher set up another move, but Ospreay leveraged his shoulders down for a near fall. Then Fletcher held Ospreay's left arm, smiled. Ospreay flailed. He hit the clothesline on him in the head. He leaned. Ospreay in the corner, Fletcher that is, and then charged with a running kick, followed up with a top rope brainbuster suplex for the win. So no Don Callis, no Takeshita, no anybody associated with the Don Callis family. Fletcher gets the clean as a sheet win in 24 minutes. And once again, I thought this match was really good. If you haven't, definitely go out of your way to see it. Not, I wouldn't say match of the year quality, not one of Ospreay's best matches he's ever had, but it is a landmark statement win for Fletcher. And this shows that AEW is legit in pushing Fletcher in a serious capacity, at least for the moment. And I don't have an issue with that. Right now Ospreay can be and probably should be like their top guy in the company, but at the moment he's not. He's, second, third from the top. He's not in a main event, world title feud right now. Maybe he ends up, doing some stuff with Moxley and the Death Riders eventually. But right now he's, in a position where I think he can take a loss or two, especially to Fletcher, who is on the way up, and AEW desperately needs to kind of build up some stars. And I think jury is still out on Fletcher on what exactly he can do in terms of making a difference, but he's a really solid wrestler. I think his character work in recent weeks with Callis and this new character switch up post heel turn has been encouraging. But I'm not going to sit here and say he's a can't miss prospect and he's going to be one of AEW's top heels in 2025. But you never know. You never know. Then we get the Mina Shirakawa Mariah May celebration. It is what it is. It was a little awkward. Mina, speaking on the mic. Mariah May comes out. She has a black eye from definitely not a parasailing accident or a jet ski accident, whatever the hell Hulk Hogan's excuse was in 1993. But it was her match against Anna Jay, I think, last week. But so they try to play it off and kind of get her good side, but you could definitely see that she had a messed up eye. Mina and Mariah shared champagne. Then Mina starts dancing to the crowd, and with her back turned, Mariah tries to hit her in the head with a champagne bottle, but Mina ducked. Mina sold her amazement that Mariah would do something like that, and then she gets all angry, cartoon style, charges at her, and then spears Mariah off the stage, and both of them go through a definitely real table that was set up for production purposes, not to brace their falls. Mina definitely did not take a blood capsule, and her mouth was all bloody, and then she kissed or bit. It wasn't exactly what I assume she was kissing Mariah May, so then Mariah May had a bloody forehead while Mina had a bloody mouth, and there it is. Looks like that is the next feud for Mariah May. happy that we're actually getting something of substance with Mariah May, in the women's division. No Toni Storm. She did not appear, wasn't even really mentioned. So maybe it'll be an extended absence for Toni Storm, and possibly once this Mina Shirakawa feud is over. Then we get to the aforementioned Jack Perry Daniel Garcia match for the TNT title. Decent little video package beforehand with Daniel Garcia listening to a voicemail from his mom, showing him with some clips and stuff. So some motivating stuff. Crowd was into Garcia, Buffalo guy. So from the New York Northeast market. And Garcia gets the win in 18 minutes to capture the TNT title. Solid match. Crowd, this was kind of in that stretch. Crowd was very much into Fletcher and Ospreay. And that's another reason why I think the match was so good, is because there was long stretches and many points in this show that the crowd was not into things, or at least was not boisterous in their support of some things. And so we kind of had that stretch before the Ospreay match, and then we get the Ospreay match, and whether people were tired or, not that into it, which is understandable, because a lot of the stuff that happened on, in this storyline was on Collision. I don't think Jack Perry's a particularly good heel. Daniel Garcia has his moments, but he's definitely not like a hot up-and-coming babyface by any means. People like him, respect him, think he's, talented and a good guy, but not someone that everyone's going to go crazy for. But, match was fine. Finishing sequence, Jack Perry kind of doing his sacrifice shtick, which, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of. And Garcia, once again, hits a pile driver, and then Garcia then put Perry to sharpshooter. Perry tried to get to the ropes, but Garcia pulled him away, and then really sat down and bent Perry in half, and then he got the tap out win. Crowd popped. So here is your one AEW title change for the pay-per-view. Spoiler alert, but it was a really good match. Two young guys. Crowd was kind of into it, but nothing too crazy. I wonder what this means for Jack Perry with the Young Bucks out working from home. Okada Okada and Jack Perry were never best of buddies in the Elite, but Okada is going to kind of do his own thing with the Continental Classic. So I wonder where Perry goes from here. Then, shocker, another championship match. Konoske Takeshita takes on Ricochet, and I would say this might be a disappointment of the night. Takeshita wins in 20 minutes to retain the title. It was a fine match. Nothing was botched or nothing was terrible, but crowd was not that into Ricochet. And people like Takeshita, but they're gonna boo him because it's kind of what you do. But yeah, Ricochet is not a hot babyface for AEW post signing, and that's kind of what I said before he signed to AEW. Is Ricochet stands out in WWE being an undersized guy who can do some athletic things. He comes to AEW, and he's not the best undersized guy who can do athletic things, because now Ricochet is in his 30s. He's not what he was 10 years ago. He can still do impressive stuff, but it's not going to stand out as much in AEW compared to WWE, and maybe that's translating. He can't lean on his athleticism as much as a standout compared to the other company. So, and also personality-wise, Ricochet's kind of never had it, so he does have to lean on that stuff. And if he's not going to jump off the page with the in-ring, the character work, I think, does fall behind. Clean win for Takeshita, though. Once again, Don Callis at ringside on commentary. Didn't get involved, so Takeshita, big, clean victory here. So good night for the Don Callis family, winning big matches for both of his top dogs. And I agree with this sentiment. I very much believe, if I talked about Kyle Fletcher and how he could be a cornerstone, he possibly could be a big heel for AEW in 2025. I think the world of Takeshita. I think he's so great. He can be either face or heel. Currently, he's a heel, but I think he could also be a phenomenal babyface if he wants to. So, if you tell me to take one, I'm taking Takeshita all day. I just think he's fantastic, so athletic. He has charisma, but he doesn't have English-speaking charisma, and that's why you have Don Callis. And I think they are a good pairing. If Takeshita were to split from Don Callis and be a babyface, I still think he could be fine. Maybe you get him like a babyface mouthpiece, and even if he doesn't, I think his in-ring work and the limited English he can speak is going to be good enough in AEW. But I wonder what Ricochet goes to from here. He does have that Zack Sabre Jr. match at Wrestle Dynasty coming up January 5th, and that seems like a kind of cold match. Now that Ricochet just loses here, maybe they kind of do something to heat him up a little bit. Maybe after the loss, he goes to the Hurt Syndicate. It seems as though Max Caster is going to join the Hurt Syndicate, and maybe Ricochet is next up. Yeah, a little frustrated with his loss here in this one, and he turns the dark side and joins MVP Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. Speaking of which, Bobby Lashley takes on Swerve Strickland in the penultimate match of the night. We did get Jim Ross coming down to join the commentary booth for the last two matches on the night, and Jim Ross always loves to point out the fact that he signed Bobby Lashley to his first ever WWE, you can't say that, but his first ever wrestling contract. He said that multiple times at the beginning of the show, or the beginning of the match. And while Takeshita beats the new WWE signing, the new WWE signing beats the AEW guy in 12 minutes. Yes, Lashley gets the win. Once again, clean, no interference from MVP or Shelton Benjamin or a new debuting member. Lashley kind of manhandles Swerve for a majority of this match. Swerve did get some offense in and got some heat in, but it was definitely more of a showcase for Lashley. And it's an interesting pick. Swerve is one of their top guys, but Lashley is the newest signing they got, and you don't want to spend the money, spend the resources just for him to lose in his first real match in AEW. So it's kind of TBD on this decision to have Lashley win here, to see if they can build him up to bigger, better things, if they can use this win to then, lose to Swerve later down the line, and that can build Swerve up. After the match, the finish was Lashley put the Hurt Lock on Swerve, and he did the whole pass-out shtick for the submission win. Then they throw Prince Nana into the ring, and then Lashley gives Prince Nana a Hurt Lock as well. So both Swerve and Nana were laying to end the match, to end the segment, and it's interesting choice. Ballsy. I don't want to say ballsy choice, because it did seem like this was the way they were going of having Lashley win, but it was more of an interesting pick that just Lashley was so dominant, I think, in this match. But yeah, then we get the main event, Jon Moxley defending his AEW World title against Orange Cassidy. And Moxley gets the first entrance. Then Cassidy comes out. Cassidy, like a bat out of hell, hits a bunch of orange punches. He must have saw some like old school Roman Reigns clips, because Orange Cassidy was just absolutely spamming those Superman punches. I think he hit at least 10. He hit like 3 to start the night. He probably hit like 1 or 2 in the middle, and then I think he hit like another 3 at the end. So Orange Cassidy, big fan of 2016, 2015 Roman Reigns. You heard it here first. Big time blood. We didn't get any blood throughout the night, but we got it here. And not in bunches, but Cassidy bled. And with the blonde hair, does mix well with the red. And it was a good visual. Moxley just beating the piss out of poor Cassidy and, putting sympathy on him. Cassidy fires up, makes a comeback, hits even more orange punches. And then, shocker, we get Claudio and Pac to come out. Conglomeration cancels them out. Cassidy fires up, hits some more orange punches, hits a beach break. We get a kick out. Maria Shafir gets involved with the briefcase. Cassidy gets hit with the briefcase, or whatever. I'm kind of mixing, like, it was a kind of a clusterfuck at the very end. Even though we had a bunch of clean finishes throughout the night, they saved all the shenanigans for the very end. And Wheeler Yuta comes out. hits Orange Cassidy with the knee. He also gets hit with the briefcase. Let's see. Moxley grabbed the ref. Wheeler entered the ring and delivered a Psycho knee. Moxley then hit the Death Rider for the win. So that was, so false finish was briefcase. Real finish was a Busaiku knee from Wheeler, and then a Death Rider finisher for the retention of Jon Moxley. I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was good, kind of up until the end. I kind of wish we kept the clean finish streak alive and just had Moxley beat Cassidy clean. I thought they had something really good going. I thought they were almost going to build up to that crescendo of kind of like Cassidy like kicking out at one, or like kicking out of something you didn't really think he was going to. But we did get that. We kind of got that moment with him kicking out after the briefcase. But I just thought they kind of didn't get it as far, get it as good as I think they could have. But that being said, I still thought it was a really good match. It was, simple psychology. Moxley, the gruff, tough heel, just beating down on the resilient babyface at Orange Cassidy, and Cassidy not giving up. But finish spoiled it just a little bit, kind of takes it down. And that kind of puts me over the top of having Fletcher and Ospreay be the best match on the show. But I think a lot of people are going to be talking about the finish, or not the finish, but the ending of this show. It was, I like I said, they saved all the clusterfucks for the end. So here we go. Moxley held Cassidy as Yuta poured a green disinfectant over Cassidy's face. Cassidy retched and dropped to ringside. Then Hangman Page comes out with a chair and hit Wheeler Yuta with it. He then looked at Moxley, who then looked wide-eyed at him. So we got a little stare down. It's like, ooh, are they going to go face each other? Are they going to join up? Is Hangman joining like the dark side because he doesn't know what to do with himself after that loss? But no, then Christian Cage then runs in and gave Moxley an unprettier. Christian then asked Hangman for the brief, or whatever, the metal case thing that he has his contract in. Hangman hesitated, but then ultimately gives it to Christian. Then Hangman walks up the ramp. Christian posed with the case. Then Jay White enters the ring and gives Christian a Blade Runner. Claudio then attacks White from behind. Pac joins and beats down White. White then kind of yells at Pac, out of all people. So are we going to get Pac and Jay White as a feud next up? I thought we were going to, okay, Jay White wins Hangman Page. Maybe Jay White shows up here randomly, and so he's going to face Jon Moxley. But no, he's focusing more on Pac than Moxley. Then we cut to the backstage where they show Moxley and his crew running away, trying to get into the pickup truck they arrived in. Then a car smashes into the pickup, and then Moxley and the crew look for like the keys that oh my God. I'm not rich and fancy, but the chauffeur, or not chauffeur. Oh my God. Hold on. Let me, I'm going to hit the pause. I'm going to figure out what the word I'm looking for, because I'm an idiot. And it's like 12:30 at night and I'm tired. After extensive research and maybe took more time than it should have for me to figure out what I was trying to look for, valet was the word I was looking for. So they go to like the valet whatever thing that just has a bunch of keys on it, and then Claudio tries to like scrounge around and finds happens to find keys to the SUV that is like 5 feet in front of him. They all get into the car, they scurry off. Cameraman rolls around to the car that ran into the pickup truck, and it happens to be Darby Allin. Who would have seen that coming? The guy who's been feuding with the Death Riders this entire time then gets involved once again, and Darby kind of awkwardly trips and falls, trying to get up on the bent up truck, smashes the windshield with his skateboard, and then yells and cusses at Moxley and friends to close out the show. It was a lot to end Full Gear. It was like one thing after another. It was like, okay, we're gonna get a random title change with Christian. It is weird that, we kind of forget that Christian has this like Money in the Bank type contract, and I kind of wish they were just cash it in and just have him lose already. Like, if they're not gonna pull the trigger now or in like the near future, then just let's get it out of the way so we don't have to worry about it. Like, I get it with Luchasaurus kind of MIA right now. I don't know what Christian's going to be doing, but yeah, and then Jay White coming out, Hangman Page comes out. You think, okay, maybe we're going to get some, and we're going to get like a return of Edge or Kenny Omega, or maybe maybe Darby Allin just comes out, makes a save, or just something in the ring or in the arena to kind of finish off the night. But no, then we go backstage, we go to the parking lot to have the finishing sequence. And it was just kind of stacking on top of each other. And I don't think any of it really worked, to be honest. Because, like, we had Wheeler Yuta and Jon Moxley try to poison Orange Cassidy. And I just barely talked about that. I just flew right by it because there's just so much other bullshit that happened right after that. So not a fan of the ending sequence. It was just way too much convoluted bullshit going on. And it wasn't even like consequential bullshit. Like, it's Hangman Page, Jay White, Christian. Okay. I kind of don't care that much, to be honest, frankly. And so this is like AEW's main thing they're doing is this Death Rider storyline. And whether you want to say it's like the NWO or whatever takeover evil faction storyline you want to pick from, go for it. Honestly, I don't think it's going all that well. Like, fans are kind of cheering for Moxley because Moxley's a badass who beats the fuck out of people, and that's what the AEW crowd's gonna like. We got some, goofy baby faces trying to go up against him. Now, I think Jay White is not a goofy baby face. Darby Allin not a goofy baby face, but almost everybody else involved is, Jon Moxley or Orange Cassidy, Evil Uno. What happened to like those cast of like 20 low card baby faces who like camped outside the arena with pitchforks and lighters trying to kill the Death Riders like 2 months ago or a month ago? They just don't care anymore, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, kind of a down note to end on the pay-per-view. Overall, I thought the show was okay. A lot of these AEW shows, I wasn't super hyped going into it, but sometimes the wrestling kind of take it over. And I don't think it was, like, nothing was bad on this show. I would kind of, if we're going to do the grades, I'd give it a B-. I thought the Ospreay Fletcher match was really good. The main event up until like the finish, I thought was really good. And it's interesting booking decisions. And, even shout out like the women's match. I really did enjoy the ending of Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander. But kind of everything else was just kind of there. And, I kind of joined in late, so I kind of like was fast forwarding through some stuff, so I can't get a full grasp on how long it was. But, it's a regular AEW show, like 4 hours. But yeah, so that is going to do it for this Full Gear recap. Once again, I tell myself, oh yeah, you're not going to go that long. You took way too long trying to set up this stupid software that you should probably cut it close, because by the time you upload all this stuff, it's going to be like 1 o'clock in the morning. But no, here we are, 43 minutes later. If I figured out how to say valet, it'd only be 42 minutes later, but I digress. But thank you guys very much for tuning in. Whether you're listening to this on the Bulletcast or on Curveballs and Sure Shots, make sure check your RSS feeds for the new episodes. Hope you guys have a fun, safe Thanksgiving, Black Friday, shop till you drop, whatever you guys are doing in the next week. Hope you all have a good time. So until I see you down the road, love you all, big hugs, tiny kisses, goodbye, and good night. Bye.
That's what we do.